What if I told you your future's already waiting on you, not the other way around? Faith isn't hoping, faith is becoming. And once I learned how to feel the outcome in advance, everything changed. I am Rasuli, and I believe that our mindset and our actions shape our reality. If you're ready to grow, heal, live with purpose, stay encouraged, then please subscribe and let's walk this journey together. Today's quote is by Neville Goddard, and the quote is, "Make your future dreams a present fact by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled." So what that quote means is like, it's pretty deep, but it's pretty cool, you know? It means that if you can just stop thinking about all the things that you're thinking about, as far as like all the things that are missing in your life, then start focusing on the feeling that you get if something great or grand were to happen to you. You know, it's a very difficult thing to do, but it's absolutely necessary for you to continue moving in the path on where you want to go. You know, there's times that I could think of things that I wanted to happen, and I had, you know, all this, you know, great intention of them happening. If you think about when you were a child, you know, you I don't know, maybe you wanted something so badly, like a toy, or I don't know, whatever it is. You might have wanted something so much, and then finally, you know, you just knew you were going to get it. I'm sure that we can all relate to those times where we were thinking about something so strongly that it just happened, and we just knew it was going to happen. You know what I mean? And it's because of the feeling that we had. We were assuming that would come to be. And it's like a great expectation for something great and grand, something that you just knew you were going to be able to get, or something that you knew that you were going to be able to achieve. Just like a mother that thinks about her child, you know, when that child is a young kid, you know, you already assume that one day that child will walk. You know, right now the child's a baby, you watch it crawl, and then, you know that eventually that child is going to be up and walking. And then, you know, as a parent, you think about your kids growing older, and then you have these assumptions and these feelings on, you know, what it's going to be like when they grow older. And you don't take into consideration anything other than them continuously growing. I mean, basically, if you think about what that quote means as far as assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, it just means to imagine what it would be like if what you were hoping would happen had already happened in your life. You got to imagine that feeling. What would that feeling, what would that feel like to you? And basically you want to get into that feeling now before it happens. So, I mean, you can call it what you want, you know, if you feel like you're calling it like fooling yourself or whatever you're thinking about. But the reality of it is that if you can get in the mindset of assuming the expectation had already been accomplished in your life, then you're basically there. You know what I mean? It's gonna happen no matter what. It's just a matter of time, and they always say it's on God's timing. The reason why I love this quote so much is because, I don't know, like I said before, a lot of these quotes, they resonate with me because they speak to me in a way where it's like undeniable. Like, you know, there's some biblical aspects to this quote. So just remember the quote by Neville Goddard: "Make your future dreams a present fact by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled." And when I say that there's a biblical aspect to that, then think about this particular quote. Think about this scripture, Mark 11, verse 24. "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours." It means the same thing, man. Basically, it's just saying, if there's something that you really want, then you have to assume that it's already been given to you. You gotta actually conjure up that feeling. You know, they say life and death is in the power of the tongue, but really, before you can communicate anything verbally, you have to think it. Before you think it, you have to have an emotional attachment to it, or a feeling, before you can actually speak it. So, when you're really communicating with people, or communicating, throughout your casual conversation through life, you're basically trying to impart your feelings to another person through your words, through your tongue. And if you think about it like that, then it means a lot. You know what I mean? Like, your feeling is the real basic language that's universal for everybody, no matter where you are in this earth. You know what I mean? The feeling is the one language that we all speak the same, but we can't always verbally communicate that with one another. The feeling. So if you can just imagine what it would feel like to fall in line on something that you really want to happen in your life, then once you start feeling that vibration, or feeling that feeling, that frequency, you're gonna just start producing that into the atmosphere. Like, your speech would be different. The way you communicate with the people that you come across is gonna be different. The people that come across your path will be different. People that would not normally be there, because you ain't thinking the same way that you used to. So stop. It's a very difficult thing to renew your mind. I keep saying that, but it's the most important element to consider when it comes to moving differently. Another scripture that coincides with this is Hebrews 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Think about that. I said these quotes, man, I love them so much because they speak to my heart. They speak to my feeling. They speak to my character of who I am. You know what I mean? And who I am is a person that's really conscious on the level of thinking that I have right now. You know what I'm saying? It coincides with a lot of biblical messages that maybe, I wasn't too keen on earlier in my life, but now I'm focusing in on things, and sometimes I'm being presented with obstacles, and I have to be strong-minded and focused on what it is that I'm believing for, or what it is, the feeling that I'm assuming in my life. I really love it. I feel like I'm working through it all. I'm being obedient. Stopped, pulled over, set up my camera right here, and I just had the feeling to get on there and speak about this particular quote because it popped in my mind. I have to bring up a time where something that I was believing for happened in my life, and it was a right on time situation. Years ago when I first moved out here, I had a company that moved me here to California to start a location up out here. Anyway, I'm not going to get into too much details about that, but at that particular time, that company was paying for my move. Well, I had already made it to California. The moving truck was already on its way, the company that was bringing all of my things. And I had a deadline to pay them at that time. At that time, I was, I didn't have any savings saved up or anything. It was a big move for me. And it was a big expense at that time. So anyway, I just knew everything was going to work out. I knew it. I had the feeling that everything was going to work out. But I knew that the deadline was coming. It was a deadline that the truck will arrive in California with all of my belongings, and I would have to make the payment, and it would be on the weekend. Well, I was reaching out to the company that I worked for, couldn't get a hold of anybody. They assured me that, the check was in the mail. Back then, it was not a direct deposit situation. But anyway, I didn't know what to do. So the day of the truck showed up, it may have been it might have been a Sunday. I don't know. It was a pretty dire situation. I didn't have the money. I couldn't pay the people. Something just said, check the mail one last time. Boom, there the check was, signed it over, gave it to the guy, and we were good to go. Well, I didn't exactly sign it over. I guess I wrote another check and gave him that. But in any event, the situation had been done because all the hiccups that showed up along the way kept telling me, this might be an issue or it might be a problem. But I stayed consistent with the feeling of knowing that everything would be okay, And even though everybody around me, my family and, mostly just my family at the time, everybody was just against the idea, like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And nobody knew. But deep down inside, I knew that it would be fine. I knew that things were gonna go the way that they were supposed to. I had the feeling of it already being taken care of. And I'm sharing that with you because sometimes I have that feeling even still. And I don't really share those feelings with people sometimes because it's really a personal thing. It's between me and the Most High God that lives within me. So I know that, I don't know anything, but I trust that the things that I feel will come to pass. I'm living in a way that's in harmony with the word. I feel good about my life. There's nothing that I'm doing that I feel there's nothing that I feel that's holding me back from receiving all of the good and the blessings that are ready for me to receive, So, I'm trusting in everything that I do. I trust in the people that I come across, that I'm supposed to meet those people for whatever the reason is. I'm not naive to the world because I've lived in this world for a pretty long time and I know how it could be, So I always stay aware of my surroundings, but most importantly, I stay focused on my feeling. I stay focused on the gifts that God gives me. I stay focused on the gift that is given to me. And I stay focused on the path as it is laid out before me. My eyes are optimistically open to the future, and the feeling that I present, the language that I speak from love and from my heart has to continue to be just good, all good. It's always good, So anyway, I ask you, what dream have you been hoping for? What dream have you been waiting on? Visualize it, feel it, line your actions up with it. And there's another scripture to remember, Romans 4, verse 17. God calls those things that be not as if they were. When you feel it, when you speak it, it shall be. It will be. Can't be anything otherwise. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that just came out of me. I hope you feel it. I hope you receive that. And we're going to talk again soon. All love. IAmRasouli.